Right. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see so many familiar faces and names, and to see also that we've got people joining from different continents and many countries as well. My name's Adelina Comas-Herrera. I'm the director of the Global Observatory of Long-Term Care, and together with NAS, we're hosting today's webinar. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the observatory. We'll be very brief, but we also want you to know about our next webinars as well. So the Global Observatory of Long-Term Care is a platform that, let me see if we show you the right screen. It's a platform that aims to support knowledge exchange in how to strengthen long-term care systems and how to improve basically everything on long-term care. And what we do is we share experiences from different countries, but also research. And what we like very much is to host webinars like today, and these are organized by different interest groups that bring together their knowledge. As I said, what we do basically is to do a lot of sharing, and as well as webinars, we also have some publications, a blog, and we also publish methods and topics guides. And if you'd like to do any sharing of your work, please let us know. You can email us, and you can also let us know in the chat. And I'm very excited to show you the list of webinars we have planned for the next month. We even have one or two more to add, but we're really pleased to be covering so many topics. And so today we're looking at workforce, but next week we'll also be looking at using AI to detect agitation. We have an interest group on continence assessments, one on pain management, and we're also going to be looking at the use of quasi-experimental methods on the 14th of October through seeing how China's reforms are impacting functional dependency and care needs. We have the first webinar on the 22nd October of the unmet needs interest group. We have one on qualitative research methods, and then one more, which is a joint qualitative research and data science webinar on the 10th of December on looking at whether AI can understand meaning. And with that, I'd just like to welcome everyone from the Workforce Capability Interest Group, and I'm going to hand over to Victoria, who's going to introduce today's webinar and the interest group.
Thank you, Adelina. So welcome, everyone. I'm Victoria Cornell, one of the research fellows here at ARIIA, which is the Aged Care Research and Industry Innovation Australia. And we drive the steering group for this particular interest group of the GOLTC. Before we kick off, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the lands on which we are all separately meeting today, and pay my respects to their spiritual and cultural relationship with their country. Okay, I'll just do a quick who we are. So ARIIA was a recommendation of a workforce task force report that came out of a royal commission that we had into aged care quality and safety a few years ago. And the report identified that the aged care sector needed to increase the capability and to pick up evidence and to put it into practice, and to adopt products and technologies that would help the sector grow and to improve aged care. ARIIA's services and resources help the aged care sector by empowering providers to tackle change head-on. We help providers implement evidence-based solutions and technology, and we deal with associated issues such as change fatigue and burnout. As a support service for the aged care sector, ARIIA provides a number of capability programs, and we also support organisational readiness for change. So now to the exciting webinar. I won't keep you much longer. I'm just going to give you a quick introduction of all of our speakers. And the webinar itself. So the Workforce Capability and Capacity and Capability Interest Group focuses on the challenges and opportunities of attracting, recruiting and empowering carers in the long-term care workforce. The group brings together researchers, practitioners and policymakers via a series of interactive webinars, like this one, to share evidence-based information, strategies and practical resources to build the capacity of the paid workforce, and also to help build the capacity of volunteers and family carers who provide care to people across the country's cultures and contexts. This is our second webinar since establishing. The first one was held in April this year, and if you go onto the website and look under the directory tab, you'll find out more. That one was actually on workforce retention. So to this one, delivering high quality care starts with having the right skills in the right roles. As the aged care sector responds to a growing population with increasingly complex needs, understanding future skill and competency requirements is essential. So we've got three great speakers this morning for you, who will explore various areas of the workforce and which areas are most likely to need upskilling and how providers can maybe prepare now to meet tomorrow's care challenges. Whilst obviously also supporting job satisfaction, workforce stability and business as usual. First up, we'll have Paul Ross, my colleague here at ARIIA. Paul is an information specialist within our Knowledge and Implementation Hub at ARIIA. He has extensive professional skills in research, information and aged care, both in the Australian and the UK context. And he's driven by a desire to enable individuals a voice in service delivery and has co-designed numerous programs with older people. After Paul, we'll hear from Jiri Brankert, who's a CEDEFOP expert, I'm sure he'll explain that more, in the Department for VET and Skills. He works in the vet sector for adults and apprenticeships team. Jiri has extensive experience with skills and labour market analyses, and for many years he led the CEDEFOP Skills Intelligence Project. His prior working experience includes an assessment of labour market outcomes of skills recognition for the ILO, and during the past 15 years, he's been involved in many projects focusing on skills and labour market analysis across Europe. And last but not least, we'll hear from Justin Chadwick, a director at New Direction Care, a privately owned organisation which has created the world's first microtown aged care community. Justin has a passion for driving positive change in the residential aged care sector and draws upon diverse background in pharmaceutical and data analysis to bring a fresh perspective and novel insights. I'll ask you to hold any questions until the end, or you can put them in the chat as we go along, and we'll come to them at the end of all of the speakers. Okay, I shall stop sharing and pass you over to Paul, our first speaker.
Okay, thanks, Victoria. Hopefully you can all see my screen. So I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for taking time to join us today. As Victoria's already mentioned, I'm Paul and I work as an information specialist, primarily in the Knowledge and Implementation Hub. Today, I'd like to share with you a brief overview of the evidence into skills trends within long-term care. Around the world, there's a significant variation in how long-term care is funded, described and delivered, and some of the systems are further ahead in addressing skills gaps than others, and they've been supported by national, regional and state initiatives that span aged care, health and education. But rather than exploring every programme in detail, I'll focus on the common threads across jurisdictions, looking at the areas of convergence that point us towards what the future skills of the workforce are likely to be. So long-term care itself is a complex and evolving sector. It brings together different participants, funding models and policy drivers, all shaping our understanding of what good care looks like and how it should be delivered. So this complexity in the needs of stakeholders and in the way services are delivered means that everyone involved must be adaptive and responsive, as the skills required to deliver high quality care are not static. They must continue to evolve while balancing compliance and financial sustainability. It's no surprise that the evidence base on education, training and skills in long-term care remains fragmented, but what can be seen is a variation in the levels of qualification requirements and in some cases, no shared agreement to what continuing professional development should look like. On top of that, there's no universal standard of skills and competencies that is recognised across education, vocational training and care, which makes consistency difficult to achieve. Yet the outlook is positive, We now have a growing body of research that distills care roles into clear skills and competency frameworks, and these provide us with a valuable foundation to design tailored, practical solutions to meet the needs of the sector today and in the future. So when we talk about skills, we mean the ability to perform a task to an acceptable standard, and with practice and experience to perform it well. Skills can be developed in many ways through training, observation, or lived experience across both formal and informal settings. But skills aren't fixed. Competence can vary between individuals, and pre-established skills can evolve over time, especially in fast-moving areas such as digital literacy. And they're also shaped by context and an individual's confidence in applying them. This is why understanding, supporting, and continually developing skills is essential to sustaining high-quality care. Skills are often described as either hard or soft, but international frameworks like the OECD's Learning Compass take this further by grouping skills into three categories: technical skills, such as learning a clinical process, cognitive skills like problem solving and critical thinking, and socio-emotional skills such as communication and teamwork. It's this combination of these that create competency, not just knowing what to do, but being able to apply it. Now that we've defined what a skill is, it's important to step back and consider the wider drivers shaping skill needs in the sector. An ageing population is a major driver across all countries, and demand for care continues to rise, while the working age population, including the care workforce itself, is aging, and younger recruits are shrinking. This pressure adds to long-standing workforce shortages, and the evidence is consistent. Workers, providers, and consumers all agree that current skills are not currently aligned with the delivery of high-quality care, and too often staff are not being equipped with the right education and training to meet the complexity of care needed. The issues around skills gaps in long care are multifaceted, and that variability is part of the challenge. Training is inconsistent in both quality and content, and while some roles are linked to professional regulation, many are not, creating uncertainty for potential employees, for current staff, and for providers, and weakening efforts to professionalise the workforce, which is vital if long-term care is to be seen as an attractive and respected career. The result overall is a complicated mix of skills that is further compounded by varying levels of professional education and on-the-job training. So to understand what skills are and how to make them effective, care providers must take time to map out the components of each role. This process ensures that core competencies are clearly identified, but it also recognises that each group, whether personal care workers, nurses, or managers, need additional skills that match their responsibilities based on their scope of practice. By mapping roles in this way, providers can create clarity, strengthen accountability, and make sure training is relevant, targeted, and aligned with the goal of delivering care effectively. So to do this well, providers must navigate several barriers that can hold back effective skills training. Time is one, courses can be lengthy, and staff need to step away from the floor to attend. And funding is another. While costs are often shared between governments, providers, and individuals, smaller organisations may struggle to invest at the levels needed. Across the evidence, it's clear there's two barriers that stand out consistently: limited availability of training, particularly in rural and thin markets, and the variability of training's quality and relevance. But there are also some enablers. These include allocating per-person training budgets based on role complexity, linking skills development to pay levels, and understanding the training market in your jurisdiction, what's free, what's costed, and what formats are available. By recognising both barriers and facilitators, providers can take a more proactive approach to workforce development and align with broader skill development trends across the sector. So talking about those, to understand what skills we need in long-term care, it's useful to consider those broader trends shaping all industries. And according to Jobs and Skills Australia, they see the future skills need to be a continuation of generally what we've seen before, but with a sharper focus driven by demographic change, innovation, environmental pressures, and human factors. The skills most in demand cluster around care, technology, cognition, communication, and sustainability. And why these apply across all sectors, they highlight the growing importance of care and the skills required to deliver it effectively. But the megatrend that matters most for long-term care is already with us, and it's accelerating at speed, requiring immediate, ongoing, sector-wide attention if we are to prepare the workforce for the future. And surprise, surprise, that's technology. Because when we talk about the future of skills in long-term care, it's clear the development agenda must cover a wide spectrum. And central to that technology is staff will need digital literacy and confidence in using new systems, alongside the ability to work with data responsibly, because data governance is no longer just a back office function, it is part of how safe and effective care is delivered. At the same time, we can't lose sight of the core skills related to care delivery. Gerontological knowledge is critical to understanding the realities of aging and vital in ensuring nurses are prepared for the sector. And complex care delivery skills are increasingly needed to respond to multimorbidity, alongside providing high-quality dementia care and ensuring people experience dignity and comfort throughout the end-of-life stages. And we also see a continued shift towards person-centered approaches. This isn't just about planning of individual needs, but about embedding culturally safe and inclusive practices that respect identity, diversity, and human rights. Alongside this, prevention and control strategies will remain essential, building everyday routines that protect safety and resilience and prepare for times of unexpected crisis and how to cope. And as no one role delivers care in isolation, skills in interdisciplinary working are vital to ensure continuity across professions and smooth transitions between services. And strong leadership skills are also equally important, whether that's workforce planning, managing change, or fostering an organisational culture that supports staff to thrive. Compliance is another key area. Staff and managers alike must be confident in their knowledge and compliance requirements that underpin safe practice. And finally, we can't overlook mental health and well-being, such as supporting staff to understand the skills related to self-care and resilience is vital if they're to continue supporting older people. And that includes how to recognise and address the consumer's social isolation and helping them use technologies and programmes to lessen it. So taken together, these domains give us a roadmap, a way of thinking about the capabilities we need to build if we want a workforce ready to deliver not just compliant care, but high quality, sustainable, and compassionate care for the future. So as I've said, there's a wealth of evidence on skills and competency frameworks, but one I find especially valuable is a concise model for multidisciplinary core competencies in health and aged care. What makes it powerful is that it brings together both skills and knowledge, because without the right knowledge, skills can't be applied effectively. It highlights the domains that truly matter: holistic working that covers assessment, planning, and delivery, and knowledge to support healthy aging through prevention and consumer empowerment, and strong communication skills that are rights-based and culturally competent. It also emphasises the importance of working across disciplines, respecting roles and boundaries while driving sustainable improvement. And finally, it reminds us that staff need sector knowledge to navigate local services and gaps, and to effectively communicate to contribute to workforce development and planning. So when we talk about what skills are needed, we should also ask who needs them. That means tailoring training not only to different roles, but also to individual learning needs. So skills are universal, they matter for everyone, while others are specific to roles and linked to their scope of practice. Generational differences have to be considered and come into play. Gen Z workers, for instance, may need more support in developing soft skills around communication, while Gen X employees may need a stronger focus on skills like change management. But simply, training needs to be relevant to learners' backgrounds, interests, and values. And that's what makes it meaningful and practical, while still achieving the wider goal of building a workforce that is skilled, compliant, and equipped to deliver high-quality care. So in summary, the evidence is clear. Training programs must evolve if we are to meet the challenges ahead. They need to foster teamwork and digital proficiency, while also equipping staff with the expertise to care for older people with cognitive decline and complex needs. Policymakers have a vital role too, not only in ensuring the way we attract the right people into long-term care, but also in making sure they are supported with the right skills to perform their roles. This means having clear shared competencies across the training and education systems and creating the conditions for better quality employment across the sector. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to training and skill development. Contextually relevant training is essential, tailored to different workforce groups, grounded in the realities of practice, and reinforced by continuous professional development. As CPD isn't just about compliance, it's a driver of retention, professional pride, and sector sustainability. But taken together, these priorities give us a clear direction of training for the skills agenda in long-term care. Internationally, we're seeing many reforms and initiatives underway, each taking slightly different approaches. But what unites them is the opportunity to prepare workers with the right mix of skills and competencies to deliver that safe, high-quality, person-centred care. And at the heart of it all are two primary drivers that underpin every skill: adaptability and continuous development. So if we to embed these qualities effectively, we give our workforce not only the capability to meet today's demands, but the confidence and capability to grow as the sector itself evolves. So thank you for your time today, and I look forward to hearing your own thoughts. If you'd like to know more about ARIIA and the work we do, I've hyperlinked to the resources contained within the KIH and our support programs available for those within Australia, as you can see on my slide. And if you'd like to speak with me personally, please feel free to use my email. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. That was fabulous. Now I'm going to hand over to Jiri, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having the opportunity to contribute to this event. I'm honored to be with you here. Let me share my screen to see if you can view my slides. Okay. I hope now it works for all of you. Yeah, so thank you also for the kind introduction. I represent CEDEFOP, which is the European Union's Vocational Education and Training Agency. To sum up shortly what we do, we provide expertise, we conduct research, and we support knowledge sharing and capacity building in three main areas. One is how people develop and certify their skills, where we deal with topics like training, learning outcomes, qualifications, micro-credentials, or upskilling. And then the second large area of our work is how people move from learning environments to work, where we focus on apprenticeships and on career guidance. And the third large area of our work is how people's skills are matched with job tasks and needs, where we do the skills need analysis, we forecast skill needs, we do skills foresight, and then we publish and develop and publish a set of products which we call skills intelligence. Now, we have been conducting work on the long-term care sector for many years now, and basically the challenges that Paul described in his introduction are widely shared across the whole EU. So on one hand, you have the growing average age in the EU, rising from 38 years in 2001 to estimated 48 years in 2050. Of course, the long-term care sector reacts to that. We have seen a notable employment growth in the care sector in the last decade, where the sector has added more than 1.5 million jobs. And we also estimate, based on CEDEFOP skills forecast, that around 800,000 new jobs will be added until 2035. But this only translates to growth around 7%. And at the same time, the number of people aged 65 plus will grow by 23% in the European Union. From the chart that I show you now, you can also see that while the European countries have largely similar shares of population age 65 plus, they significantly differ in the capacity of the care sector, which is here shown as the share of the sector employment on the total employment in the country. So you see that countries in north and west of Europe, like Norway, Denmark, Finland, or the Netherlands, have bigger capacity to cope with the challenges of the sector. Countries in Central and Eastern Europe, like Romania, Greece, Estonia, Poland, and others, are expected to have much bigger problems in the future. Now, speaking about the employment in the care sector, let me just tell you a few words about different occupations. What you see now is the estimated development of employment for key occupations in the health sector, starting with the health professionals, where we speak about doctors in nursing homes who provide emergency response, oversee care plans, prescribe medications, but also certified nurses who administer medications, monitor patients, and coordinate the care. You may also see that CEDEFOP foresees a significant increase of employment in this occupation group within the care sector, reflecting the growing share of people in higher age. Then you have the health associated professionals who do various jobs like providing medical records and health information, physiotherapy, but we also include community health workers there. Also, their share is going to increase, their share of employment is going to increase in the future. Then you have the personal care workers, those who help with essential or instrumental activities, but also communicate with care recipients, monitor health conditions, and provide psychological support. Other groups, we may say that they are not the core, but still very important, are expected to be way more important in the future. There is a group of legal, social, and cultural professionals in the context of the care sector. These are social work professionals, but also psychologists, social care workers, and social work assistants. And these are expected to be much more needed than they are now. Now, when we speak about the challenges of the long-term care, we of course speak about aging, but not just about the aging of the whole population, which means the increasing need for the care services, but the workers in the long-term care sector are aging too and will be retiring in large numbers. And then the question is, who is going to replace them? So to simplify the challenge is, we can say that if we translate the whole workforce of the long-term care sector into just 10 jobs, these are the doctors, nurses, healthcare assistants, personal care workers, then we estimate that there will be around 10% increase of the employment until 2035, meaning that we'll add one more job. But at the same time, almost half of the current workforce is expected to retire. So the replacement needs are the vacancies caused by retirements of people leaving the sector or the labor market. So we may say that roughly 60% that the future job openings will translate to roughly 60% of the current workforce in the care sector. Hiring is a challenge for key care jobs. Now, this is a little bit complicated visualization when there is a lot of going on, so I'll explain. So on the horizontal axis, you have the share of workers employed in the care sector who are already aged 50 or more. So the higher the share, and now we speak about the countries on the right side, the higher the replacement needs, meaning that increasing share of the current workforce will need to be replaced in next years. And now we speak about countries like Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, or Bulgaria. Countries which are at the higher part of the chart are those which expect to have greatest new job openings, meaning that the current workforce is going to expand. These are the countries usually in the Central and Eastern Europe, like Romania, Poland, Portugal, and Czechia. But basically, the farther away you are from the left bottom corner, the higher the difficulty is going to be. And in most countries, these two challenges will kind of complement each other. At the same time, both medical and both paternal and medical care jobs are on shortage list in the most EU countries. Now, this is not a new problem, and we have been discussing the workforce shortages in the care sector for quite a few years. But you may also notice from this comparison of how the share of old workers in this sector develop over time, that we are really not improving. And in fact, the situation is getting worse over time. So the blue bars represent the share of care workers who are aged 50 or more, roughly 12 years ago. And the red bar is the latest employment figure. And you see that in most of the countries and in the EU overall, the share of old workers is on the employment is rising, which means that the boulder that we are kind of push in front of us is expanding and making bigger. There is a lot of talk about working conditions as a significant issue for care work employment. I could also add that we have a significant issues with salaries. When you look at how salaries of care workers develop over time, and this is another complicated visualization. Basically, this is a nominal value, monthly salary, and this the horizontal, the vertical part describes how the salaries of workers in different occupations evolve over time. And you see that the care workers are one of the worst paid occupations and also one of the occupations with the smallest increase of salaries over time, which kind of demotes them and they fall towards what we usually describe as elementary jobs category. So this is one of the biggest challenges where the shortages of the care workers are difficult to address because of the working conditions and because of the salaries. And my last slide is on the job turnover. So what you basically see is a ranking of occupations by the job turnover, which is the share of workers who are employed in the occupation for less than a year. And again, you see care workers are ranked quite high, which means there is a high job turnover, which increases the pressure on training and skills recognition of care workers. So there is a multitude of challenges. We are trying to work on them, but so far, what we do is not sufficient to alleviate the challenge of the skills shortage in the care sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry. That was great. And I mean, it's more scary numbers, but it's good to know. And we'll now finally hear Justin. Over to you, Justin.
Thank you. Hopefully everyone can see my screen now. Perfect. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak on today's panel. We're actually new members of the Global Observatory for Long-Term Care. So for those who are unfamiliar, New Direction Care is an Australian care and support provider known for our innovative microtown community, what we see as a complete reimagining of long-term care that moves away from institutional practice towards an inclusive whole of community model. Our vision is simple yet powerful, to enable a normal life for residents, their families, and the broader community. So to start, I want to show you a quick video to show you what this looks like in practice.
What we've done here at New Direction Care is we've created micro town. It has streets with signs, there's 17 houses, and then there's gardens and barbecue areas, just like you'd see in any community. Our houses are mini care homes. They accommodate 7 residents. It's just like living at home again.
We enjoy the freedoms of home. We have our own room, we have our own meals, we have everything the same. It's a happy home.
Like any town, there's all these things that you need in a town to support the people that live there.
We have our own cafe, we have our own hairdressers, doctors, dentists, so we don't want for anything. We don't have to go outside to find it.
One of the key parts of our model and what really makes it work is the role that we develop, which we call a house companion.
Our main thing is to really honour our residents and make it as a family as much as we possibly can.
They've got freedom and we kind of operate around them. So it's a lot different than traditional aged care.
We don't focus on a person's diagnosis. We look at, their lifestyle and who that person is. And then they're placed in a house according to that, not their diagnosis. We're being able to prove that you can live as a community and support each other as a community, no matter what your diagnosis.
So that was a quick overview video, but I really do encourage you all to visit and connect with us on social media to really see daily life in the microtown and some of the amazing outcomes that we've been able to achieve with this approach. So we obviously do things a bit differently, but how are we supporting our workforce to deliver high quality care now and in the future, especially as our population ages and care needs grow more complex? So while this session focuses on workforce skills and education, I believe lasting change requires a broader lens. We must consider how things like organizational structures, care models, and environment either support or hinder our teams in the education programs and skills we want them to put into practice. So today, I'm also going to spotlight what I see as interconnected factors that influence workforce development, job satisfaction, and stability, but which ultimately influence the delivery of high quality care, well-being, and quality of life for people in long-term care. So firstly, workforce skills and competencies. I don't think I'm alone today in recognizing the need to increase clinical skills and empower our teams to use the full range of their training, to educate our workforce on topics like rights-based, person-centered, resident-directed, and relationship-based care, to improve socio-communication skills or softer skills, to elevate and require dementia and gerontological training across our sectors, to improve things like digital literacy and the practical usage of digital tools by our teams, as well as things like recognizing and responding to deterioration and change for people in long-term care. Now, these are all really important areas of focus and skills our team need, but today I want to think beyond workforce development and education, to think about what are the structural matters that we can and should also interrogate to support our workforce and ultimately deliver better outcomes for people in long-term care.
Justin,
So-
can I just interrupt because the video is still showing on our screen, which is a bit off-putting. Can you stop the video?
It's changed. Let me see.
The slides have moved on.
Oh, we're having some technical difficulties. Let me stop sharing and I'll reshare.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Is that on the right screen now?
That's right. Yeah. No, we're
Good to
still on the
show work.
video. Now.
We're on the right one?
Yeah, we've moved on now. Thanks, Justin.
Sorry, thank you so much for letting me know. When it comes to workforce for NDC, this means that we've reimagined our workforce design to better support the same skills and competencies that I and others have mentioned today by looking at things like recruitment and retention, employment type, workforce structures and responsibilities. And I want to quickly touch on some of those things. So we've shifted focus from qualifications and prior experience, instead opening many of our roles, particularly direct care roles, to people with little or no prior experience. Instead, recruiting based on alignment to our values, vision and mission as an organisation. And this has been fueled by the belief that we can teach you the job, but we can't teach you to really care. So this naturally is then facilitated by extensive induction training, orientation and ongoing skills like the ones that I've mentioned. And when it comes to things like employment type, we've moved away from a casualised workforce and strategically limited reliance on agency to achieve greater continuity of care, which is important for people accessing care, but also those delivering it. And the last one was workforce structures and responsibilities. Now, traditional approaches do work, but I always ask, could it be better? Can they be improved? And at NDC, we think that's possible. And so our multidisciplinary team is centered around our house companion support worker role, a universal worker that provides the majority of direct care and support in every home, including things like personal care, cooking and menu planning, medication administration with the assistance of our clinical team, emotional support and more. These house companions are supported by registered nurses, allied health and other healthcare professionals, disability support, lifestyle and events, so that's recreational therapy, to name just a few. And they all blend seamlessly into the rhythm of each household and the community at large, working together to understand individual residents, their history, preferences and goals, so that we can support them to live their life how they want to live it. I'll move on. If there's any issues with the slides, just let me know. The second factor I want to raise is model of care and service. And this too can either enable or obstruct many of the workforce skills and competencies mentioned today. And I want to use an example to illustrate this case. A common experience in long-term care is that someone is woken based on a schedule. They proceed through a conveyor belt of regimented tasks directed by a carer to then get them ready for the day, ending in them waiting in often a large communal dining area, ready to be served a predetermined breakfast. This one small example of a specific point in time, but I challenge the audience to think, how is this achieving things like person-centered, resident-directed, or even relationship-based care? We've obviously done things differently at New Direction Care. The choice and decision-making process is kept with every resident, and they are supported by our team to continue living their life and to do as much or as little as they can. But we're not special. We do believe everyone can do this, or some version of it that reflects their organisation. The last factor for my session is the built environment. Again, I want to use an example to illustrate this case, but this time to reflect on how a built environment can influence things like dementia care and support and rights-based care. Another common occurrence in long-term care, at least in Australia, is something that we call memory support units. Essentially, these is specialist accommodation for people living with dementia and other complex support needs. But the outcome of these spaces, unfortunately, is that sometimes these people become disconnected from their community, unable to move and freely engage with the world around them. And often workforce, even family and visitors can start to exhibit language, beliefs, behaviours and practices that reinforce fear, stigma, and a sense of othering towards these people. So again, I want to challenge the audience to think, how is this supporting our journey as providers, as a workforce, as a society, in how we care and support for people in long-term care? Now, I do admit there may be cases where such a space is appropriate, but in my view, only as a temporary measure, whereas too often this type of specialist accommodation is seen as the answer. In contrast, at New Direction Care, we don't believe in such approaches. Instead, every person living in the micro town, no matter diagnosis or support need, is part of the very same community and enjoys the same autonomy and freedom to live in that community. So the factors I've mentioned today, workforce design, model of care and built environment, I admit may seem like a bit of a tangent and possibly not related to the focus of today's session, but my experience tells me differently. And I'm also quite proud to tell you that a recent publication about New Direction Care in the Australasian Journal of Aging, is supporting our approach. It's reinforcing our view that these innovations create meaningful and satisfying working conditions that increase staff satisfaction. Now, I'm a firm believer that this is a source of the outcomes that we achieve that benefit our community, because I do believe in the saying that happier staff equals better outcomes. So these are some of the ways that we are supporting our team at New Direction Care, not just through workforce development and education, but also these interconnected structural factors within our organisation that influence the practical implementation of it. So I want to say thank you for allowing me to share my perspective today. I hope you've gained some insight into at least how I see the nature of workforce development, education, job satisfaction, and the delivery of high quality care, well-being and quality of life. And to end, I want to end with 3 points. And that is that every organisation has to find its own path. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. I think Paul mentioned that earlier. Reflect on your current practices. Do they align with your values and goals as an organisation? And if not, I encourage you to start your journey of change and start small. Pilot ideas, engage your community and refine together, because progress comes from collaboration and iteration. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you, Justin. And thanks again to all the 3 speakers, with some obviously themes that go through all of them, but also some quite different focuses as well. If there are any questions, I think the easiest thing, if people can put them in the chat. I'm going to kick off with one because I'm in the chair and I can do that. It's about, I guess, how do we not rob Peter to pay Paul, in as much as we have a lot of migrant workers. I think across all of the countries that we're in, we have a lot of migrant workers, and we're taking those migrant workers from countries that also have the same need that we do and are also having aging population experiences and growing need for care. So I'd be interested to know what any of the speakers have to say about the migrant workforce, and how do we kind of harness them where we can, but not then deplete them in the countries that they're coming from. I don't know who wants to take that. I'll let someone jump in.
I'll jump in if anyone needs.
Go, Justin.
It's an interesting point, and it really is at its core an ethical and a moral dilemma. We do recognise the needs for our own communities, our own countries, but we also need to recognise those knock-on effects, those second and third order impacts to source countries that are providing that workforce. I've had some interesting conversations with people, for instance, from Common Age, that are looking at developing programs where they can support their communities to migrate, to be upskilled, to support predominantly Western nations, but to then provide pathways for them to then re-enter back to their motherland, to their home countries, so that they can bring that skill, that knowledge back and start to develop homegrown pathways for upskilling and improving the situations in their own countries. But it's a tricky one. I don't have an answer.
Mm.
Thanks, Justin. I suppose what I would have is the evidence is saying that, as you say, with ageing populations in their homeland, it's more likely that there's going to be a reduction in the availability of migrants to be able to do the work in various different countries. But what's happening in the sector in Australia specifically is between the disability and the child education and the aged care sector, they're looking to streamline skills and qualifications across those sectors to make transferability easier for people that are already in the broader care and support sector. The other thing to remind us ourselves is that migrant workers also represent a large, potentially with English as a second language, represent a large percentage of consumers within the care support system. And so they have a valuable place in being able to represent and also translate between English care delivery and care delivery that's delivered to cultural needs. So it's not again not an easy solution, and it's going to become an increasingly more problematic situation in relation to people wanting to stay in their original locations to assist and support their own communities to age.
Great, thank you both. I don't know, Jerry, whether you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, just a couple of words, because what I described is considered as the key challenges. I mean, there is also a lot of effort to improve initial and continuing vocational education and training, creating more attractive career pathways through upskilling and reskilling, basically to mobilize EU's workforce. But it has been also at the same time recognized that the magnitude of the challenge is so profound that it is not possible to address it without some measures on the side of improving the employment and conditions for migrant workers. Now, European Union consists of countries of different development levels, different wages levels. So what happens? I come from Czech Republic, so just to make it anecdotically simple, Czech care workers go to work to Germany, while we rely on Slovakia or workers coming from outside of EU, like for example from Ukraine. And there has been an effort recently to identify what challenges do we have both with internal migration and from external migration outside from the EU, and what measures can we do to improve the situation. So yes, migrant workers are a super important part of the way how we can address the challenges that are ahead of us.
Okay, thank you. There's no questions in the chat, so I'm gonna ask another one just because I can. And this one's potentially a bit left field, but it's something that Paul listed on one of the slides to do with megatrends, and that's about climate, and I guess climate change and the increasing risk of disasters, which are, we're all unfortunately across the world seeing more fires, more floods, and which obviously is going to have an impact on how we can deliver care and how we can look after our workforce delivering care. So I was just wondering whether anybody has come across anything, and I guess Justin, also in terms of building your micro towns, whether anybody's come across any research that sort of looks at how a changing climate might also be an impact on the workforce, given the fact that a changing climate could impact our older people more and also our older workers more. I know it's a bit left field, but anybody want to jump in? Or just raise another question, you know, just raise a point or comment on my question.
I'm happy to give it a go. I love tricky questions. It's an interesting question, and to be honest, one that I haven't thought about myself. When I think about it within the context of the microtown, it is certainly part of ongoing risk management processes. But I guess I take the view that we have normal homes and normal community, and so our responses can be much more easily aligned to what is happening in the general public, and can, I think, also be much more easily retrofitted. You saw that we have very simple domestic homes, and it provides benefits in terms of adapting to challenges as they arise. And that's also something that I've thought about in terms of another issue, which comes to the different treatments that are now being brought out when it comes to dementia and other chronic complex care needs that often drive people into long-term care, where we typically see other providers, they might have all of these assets, these buildings that have very specific use cases and purposes, whereas a microtown, it's easily adapted and already does support people living with disability. It can support people living in community, maybe to come together in a co-housing type model, but it can also just support families, younger people that are looking for homes, which is also a really big issue in Australia when it comes to housing affordability and access. So some different things.
Absolutely. Thank you, Justin. Paul, you look like you were going to say something.
And just leading on to what Justin was talking about, an area of work that I've come across quite recently is providers' social responsibility. So their responsibility to the communities in which they serve, to provide dignified, respectful, rights-based care that's based on the environments in where they're situated. But there's also legislation and policies that affect providers in relation to climate and sustainability, and in relation to sustainability of their buildings, but also the ways that they design buildings as well, to be able to ensure that people that are within continuous within either residential care or connected to home care services have access to ecological and sustainable locations to reduce social isolation. So there's different aspects of it that wouldn't necessarily be called ecological and sustainable, but they are all wrapped into the models of the responsibilities overall of providers to provide services of social utility.
Okay, fabulous, thank you. Jiri, before I kind of bring things to a close, did you want to add anything?
I must admit that this is a little bit of outside of my field of expertise, so I maybe skip this one and let you proceed.
No, that's quite all right. It was a bit of a left field question. Well, we are coming towards the hour, so I want to say thank you again, and if we can all thank our speakers. I think it was a really interesting mix of stats, scary stats, good stats, and opportunities as well. So I will leave it there and hand back to Adelina if she wants to do a final closing and reminder of what's coming up. And we'll see you all again soon.
Thank you. That was fantastic. Thank you so much to the speakers. Thank you so much for excellent sharing, Victoria. And we look forward to seeing you at our next webinars. Bye.